Our next speaker helps children and adults maximize their impact by connecting them with their creative strengths, mentors families, and trains teachers to integrate creative thinking into their curriculum. As the founder of Sparkativity, she is also an author, a speaker, and a designer of engaging learning opportunities for people of all ages. And a fun fact about her, she's also a poet, and there's a poem on every one of her business cards. Please welcome Kathryn Haydon.
A few years ago, I fell in love. My love was filled with possibility. It was totally authentic, somewhat messy, shared my Midwestern roots, and even brought me flowers. Lots of them. Whoops. I fell in love with the prairie. The prairie gave me a rich metaphor to connect creativity and education. For example, as creativity professionals, we value individual strengths. So does the prairie. On the prairie, each species is leveraged for its strongest asset to support the entire ecosystem. Weaknesses are not the focus. My favorite lesson from the prairie is that of the compass plant. In its first year of growth, the compass plant may only have 2 or 3 leaves. It can take 2 to 5 years to produce these beautiful blossoms. Compass plants remind me of students I know who are underestimated and thought to have no future because they don't grow at the same outward rate on things like reading, math, and handwriting as the others. But when we dig down into their strengths, there's a lot going on. Just like the compass plant, whose roots can grow 15 feet below ground. These robust root systems support entire prairie ecosystems through tornadoes and harsh floods. They nourish the soil, provide food for animals, and even support perches for songbirds. Compass plants can grow for over a century, but if they are judged too soon, they can be greatly underestimated. We humans have tried to tame wild prairie grasses with our plows for centuries. Most prairies have disappeared. But fortunately for me and my new relationship, they're making a comeback. Why are they being restored? Because people are planting seeds. Driven by the hope of possibility, we can create change in education with a handful of seeds, too. They will help us begin to restore learning to a more authentic state. And the good news is, we have the tools we need to do this. I've seen children transformed into engaged, confident learners using these tools. Wired magazine founder Kevin Kelly told me that now and in the future, those who ask the best questions will create new possibilities. We know how to ask questions. As creativity professionals, we're trained in this art, and it's easy to learn. All we need to do is fuse the ideas of 3 creativity professionals who we know well: E. Paul Torrance, Sid Parnes, and Anna Kraft. Paul Torrance encouraged teachers to ask high-level questions, questions which allow students to use both their divergent and convergent thinking. Anna Kraft termed the concept possibility thinking. And if we adopt her term, we can describe the type of questions Torrance referred to as possibility questions. Questions which require exploration, imagination. Questions which make learning meaningful and sticky. All we need to do to learn to ask possibility questions is to use a statement starter inspired by Sid Parnes, but actually invented by our colleagues Roger Firestein, Blair Miller, and Jonathan Vehar. What might be all the ways? As you know, all you need to do is start your question by asking, what might be all the ways? I've trained teachers to do this all over the country with academic content, and they love it. Second grade teacher in California, Miss Orn, used to ask her students, "Class, what's an adjective?" But after our workshop, she changed it. What might be all the ways reading would be different if adjectives disappeared? Now students can use their imaginations as they cement their knowledge of adjectives. Dr. Rosti, an 8th grade humanities teacher in New York, told me he had no idea that his professional life as a teacher would change so dramatically simply by tweaking the way he asks a question. Now he asks his students, "In what ways has learning about the Great Depression altered your outlook on life?" Students think deeply about history as they apply it to their own experience. And for all those out there who are doubting, this can even be done with math. Connecticut teacher Miss Hodges used to ask over and over, "What's 3 times 8? What's 3 times 8? What's 3 times 8? But now she asks questions like this: what might be all the numbers you can multiply together to get 24? Just imagine if every teacher in America alone tweaks one academic question tomorrow. Over 75 million students will get to use their creative thinking at least once. They will reclaim their identities as individual species and strengthen the learning landscape with their diversity of thought. Students will also learn to ask possibility questions themselves. Did you know question asking is a major weakness of artificial intelligence? If you're afraid that robots will take over the jobs of our students now and in the future, teach them to ask possibility questions. Question asking is key to a techno future. Of course, there's more to be done. Too many students are unable to tap the full range of their learning potential in the current system. One way I've applied our knowledge of the science of creativity to help improve this is by translating Mel Rhodes' 4 Ps model of creativity into educational terms. I call it the creative learning ecosystem model. When people, process, and press or environment are healthy, it leads to meaningful learning and student growth. I've trained teachers to sustainably support student and their own creativity using this model, and possibility questions fall directly into the process dimension. As we all know, these ideas have been around since the middle of the last century. We weren't ready to apply them to education then, but we are now. There's been an explosion of TED Talks, books, media, and general chatter about the importance of creativity in education. Businesses are looking for workers who are creative thinkers. And that makes sense because creativity is what helps us think differently to respond to change, and today's change is growing at breakneck speed. Unfortunately, businesses also report that creativity is the second hardest ability to find in employees. So progress has been made, but there's more that needs to be done. Possibility questions are effective, easy, and they are the seeds that begin to restore creative thinking to the landscape of learning. The great thing is, we can all be part of this change, and we don't have to wait for the school board or the government to initiate it. We can all start asking possibility questions right now. If you're a parent, support teachers who ask possibility questions. If you're an aunt or an uncle or a friendly neighbor, ask possibility questions to the children in your lives. If you're a student yourself, welcome possibility questions, even though they require more of your time to think. If you're brave, alter your homework questions into possibility questions and answer those instead. Demonstrate to your teachers that you're doing more thinking, not less. Restoring land to its native prairie condition is not easy. But it is the possibility of the prairie that captivates our imagination. We want to see the velvet purple petals of the prairie crocus in March and the deep blue tubular flowers of the gentian in September. We long for the texture of luminous blue stem in the afternoon sun mixed with feathery green switchgrass. The busy and sometimes messy prairie teems with hope and life. As we all learn to ask and to answer possibility questions, we will create a flourishing, thriving prairie of thinkers who are enriched by the opportunity to use their creative minds and contribute individual strengths to a stronger, more authentic future. You hold the seeds to this change.